nowhere to be found.
And there's been no sign of him.
Allegations of horrible abuse.
I just hope it isn't true, what he went through.
And now, a desperate search for answers in a case that's baffling investigators.
Where's Hayden Manis?
That's the question that we ask ourselves every day.
Tonight, 13 investigates a missing child. Here's what makes this case so unusual. This little boy has been missing not just a few days or weeks or even months. That boy's been missing for years. And it's only now that his disappearance is coming to light. Our senior investigative reporter Bob Siegel joins us tonight to break down this disturbing story that raises so many questions.
It sure does. The biggest question, what happened to Hayden? Hayden Manis has not been seen in more than 5 years, and both his family and police now fear the worst.
I love you, Cookie.
Cell phone videos and pictures. These are what Hayden's family now clings to after realizing this little boy is nowhere to be found.
I miss him dearly.
Hayden's grandfather and 3 of his aunts met with 13 investigates to share their grief.
Oh, God.
To ask the public for help.
Just give us some answers.
And to try to make sense of how a 4.5-year-old just disappeared. When's the last time you saw Hayden?
Christmas Eve, 2019, at our family gathering.
He was getting presents. He was excited.
That was the last time.
When Hayden left his great-grandmother's house that Christmas Eve in 2019, he was with his father, Dustin, who has a criminal history involving drugs and alcohol. In fact, Hayden's father and mother both lost custody of their 1-year-old son after they tested positive for cocaine. Police also found Hayden and his father in a motel room littered with heroin. That's when Hayden went to live with his grandfather, Gary.
He's a good kid. I never had any trouble out of him the whole time I had him.
But a 1.5 years later, after Hayden's father served his sentence and completed treatment and counseling, a judge ordered Hayden be returned to his father.
I begged them not to give him back. It wasn't my choice. They wouldn't even let me speak in court.
At that point, Hayden was about to turn 3. His father took him to visit his aunts and uncles and cousins every once in a while, but those visits started getting further apart. After the Christmas get-together in 2019, the visit stopped completely, even though Hayden's relatives kept trying, texting Dustin to invite him and Hayden to family gatherings.
At least every month I would message him, can you come and do this?
Can you and Hayden come have dinner with us? And he would respond with, we'll try. Everything's fine, we're okay. Hayden's fine, we'll try to make it. But we never did get to see him. He never came.
And that's how things were for years, until this past September, when some of Dustin's family members discussed not seeing Hayden in a long time and started getting suspicious. They asked police to check on Hayden. Police found Dustin, but not his son. And the story Dustin told police did not add up. That was 5 months ago. And today,
I still love you.
Hayden is still missing.
Where's Hayden? Nobody can come up with Hayden. The last person that was responsible for him couldn't provide any information about where he was. And that's when we realized, I think,
Something terrible had happened.
yeah.
Where's Hayden Manis?
That's the question that we ask ourselves every day.
Eric Hoffman is the prosecutor in Delaware County, where sheriff's investigators have been trying to locate Hayden for 5 months. They started by interviewing Dustin, who claimed DCS showed up one day, several years ago, and took Hayden away to go live with his mother. Did Hayden go back into the custody of the Department of Child Services?
No, that was disproven quite easily, quite quickly.
Did Hayden go back to his birth mom?
No, we knew that was a lie. He was not telling the truth.
Investigators know what did not happen, but figuring out what did happen, that's been far more difficult, because Hayden was missing for years before police ever learned of his disappearance.
To say that has complicated this case is an understatement. To get the call in 2024 that you've not seen a child since 2020 is a huge hurdle.
And that's not the only challenge for detectives. In November, Muncie police arrested Hayden's dad on more drug charges after they found Dustin with heroin and meth. He spent a few weeks in jail before posting bond. 4 days later, Dustin Manis died from a drug overdose.
Just because Dustin Manis is dead does not mean the investigation is dead. We're still going forward.
13 Investigates has learned detectives have searched this Muncie house and removed potential evidence from inside. It's the last place Hayden was known to be living with his father and his dad's former girlfriend. Detectives interviewed that former girlfriend and some of her family members before they moved out of state a few weeks ago. No one has been able to lead police to Hayden, and no one has been charged in his disappearance.
How can something like this even happen? How can a little boy just disappear and no one knows where he is or what happened to him? How is something like this possible?
There's very few ways that it's possible. You know, an adult can disappear. Kids aren't like that. Kids don't have passports. Kids can't travel. Kids Hayden's age just don't go somewhere. A child can only go missing in very few ways, none of which are voluntary.
You suspect something terrible has happened?
Yes.
Do you think Hayden's alive?
No, I don't. I don't think he's with us anymore. No, I don't believe he's alive.
I do not know. Not after talking to the police, I don't.
The family says since the investigation began, they've heard stories that Hayden was badly abused and neglected inside this house before he went missing.
I just hope it isn't true, what he went through.
Things you've heard are incredibly disturbing.
Disgusting.
Horrifying.
The investigation is ongoing, so at this point, detectives and the prosecutor are not releasing specific details.
What we've heard has been shared with police is pretty horrible details and information.
I would agree. It's haunting. It's definitely haunting, some of the facts in this case.
Do you have any reason to believe that Hayden is still alive?
Based on the evidence that I've seen and the interviews that have been conducted, I do not have a reason to believe that. There are very few days I come to this office and I don't think of Hayden Manis. So this case is on my mind and it's on the investigator's mind on a daily basis. We're not going to stop until we get to an answer. We need to know the truth.
Again, we realize there are so many questions, Scott, questions police are still trying to answer.
I mean, Bob, surely somebody out there's got to know something about this.
Investigators think so. In fact, Hayden was just recently added to the National Registry of Missing and Exploited Children. He'd be 9, almost 10 years old right now. If you have any information about Hayden or his disappearance, any piece of information, no matter how small, contact the Delaware County Sheriff's Investigations Unit. We've got that number on the screen and on our website, and certainly we are going to follow up on this case very closely to share any new developments as soon as we get them.
All right, Bob Siegel with 13 Investigates. Thanks.